welcome back. So today we're going to start off with these 4 glitters here, and we're going to do a mix. So I was going to do both of these vinyl wraps here, but ended up only going with one. But so I'm going to show you the one that was successful. And anyways, this was the mix that I made of all 4 glitters from Peachy Olive Glitters. And I wanted kind of a white, but like a little bit of a tinge of a pink. So I used Barely There and Unagi and Galadriel. I'm going to say that wrong, but I know who it is, but I always get her name wrong. Anyways, and then I used some of this magic dust, but you could actually use Brite from Peachy Olive Glitters. It's a very fine additive that you can use. And that's kind of what I was using because I do not actually have Brite. So I was using some kind of just an additive that would kind of give that same look or feel, that it would have this, really fine, thin sparkle to it underneath, So these are the colors that I used. And I just put them in like a little container, like a little to-go container, and I just mixed them up there, and then I write on there my recipe so that I can have it just in case if I ever need to redo it. But I usually just try to do, as long as if it's not like too chunky, I just use those little to-go pieces. So I ended up getting a bunch of 35-ounce, like really cheap on Hog. Now, this one is not a straight tumbler. It is a skinny, but it is not completely straight. So I figured since it was the 35-ounce, which is really tall and long, and it's kind of oblong now that it's not exactly straight all the way up and down, that I could use this big piece of vinyl to wrap. And because there was no like specific design, just this kind of collage of floral, that I could wrap it around and use it, from top to bottom, and just kind of cut it, as you'll see, to make it fit just right. So as I like to do sometimes is I like to get products, I like to try them, and I like to let you know what I think and as far as how they worked out for me. And so I got some of this Prime Time from Counterculture. And I mean, as far as a paint and chalk paint and everything, it was perfectly fine. I did not like it, however, for coverage of this kind of sort. Like, I just wanted to kind of maybe see what it would be like to use it as a base coat. And I ended up having to go in with 2 coats and get it, white enough, I guess you would say, or clear enough, or, even enough, maybe is a better word to use it, that, I don't know. I just didn't, this is definitely not my favorite way. I would have just taken it outside and just painted it with a spray paint. Just white spray paint would have been much better, or even a pink, since I was kind of going for a pink. But I thought, you know what, I'll just let the glitter do its job, and so I just painted it with that Prime Time. And I don't know why, I always forget about the easiest way to do it, which is mixing the glitter into the epoxy and then just spreading it out. But I ended up putting a layer of epoxy on here, and then I was watching someone the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, I've done this. I've done that several times, but I don't know why. Just in this moment, I was like, no, I'll just make this a lot more difficult than than it should have been. So I did end up kind of patting the epoxy, just because I felt like the underneath coat of that paint, I felt like maybe if I patted it down that it would give me a little bit better sticky quality. I don't know if that's the best way to say that, but anyways, I ended up doing that. And then I took our beautiful mix here and just poured it on top of this epoxy. It's just a complete coverage. Like I said, you could have just mixed it into the epoxy, but whatever. It doesn't really matter. It still works the same. It's just you maybe can skip a coat of epoxy maybe, but it's still going to be, you know, you're still going to have to put epoxy over it and that kind of thing. So, but anyways, I really love this mix. I thought it had just some really beautiful sparkle. And since it was going underneath this full wrap, I just wanted it to have, I didn't want it to be like super pink because there was already pink in those flowers in that, you know, design. And so I just wanted it to have kind of a pink tinge, and I think Barely There and Galadriel and Unagi, I think really gave a lot of that pink tinge. But then we had that Galadriel and the Magic Dust, the Brite, and it's going to give us that real beautiful holographic, you know, with all of those colors that are going to give us all that sparkle. So anyways, ended up really loving this mix. Then you have the recipe if you would like to have it. I was going to call it Blush, you know, like Blush and Bastille from Still Magnolias. But anyways, that's what I kind of like. I thought that would be a perfect name for this because it's just kind of that light pink. Anyways, so after that, I let that cure for several hours, probably a day. I don't know. It doesn't, you could only, I mean, you could let it dry for probably a couple of hours and then go in if you needed to. I usually have steps and processes that I go through for each of my cups. So this was probably the next day. But anyways, I went in with a coat of epoxy and I just did a real good thick coat because this was just right over that glitter. Let that, you know, cure. And then I went in with another coat of epoxy and then I did sanding on it because I, you know, still had a little bit of issues with things poking up and that kind of thing. Then I went in with another coat after I did the sanding, and then I had a clear, beautiful coat for that clear, you know, semi-transparent wrap that we are going to put on here. So now that we have a beautiful clear coat of epoxy on this, I'm going to take this design. I got this actually at Create by Firefly when I was in TumblerCon. Like I said, that was really the one booth that I spent a lot of my time and a lot of money at. But I really loved the look of this, and I just knew immediately what I was going to do. It just took me a while to kind of get there, but I knew that I wanted to do like this real light pink kind of color underneath, do like a mix probably on my own if I didn't have anything, and then wrap it with this beautiful light blushy pink, you know, floral. And I had this decal that I found, and when I saw them, the two of them together, I just knew that that was it. You know, that was what I was going to be using for this combination of style here. So one thing I will say, because this was not a full straight tumbler, that it did have a taper to it. So I would say to make sure that you are wrapping it from like a larger side on the top to a larger side on the bottom, so that you're not so like you've got a little bit of leeway on the top and the bottom. So make sure that you're kind of getting it in the center of that wrap, but not the center, because you want it, you just do a couple of test runs whenever you're wrapping it around to make sure that you're getting it at the right angles, you know, for the top and the bottom, so that you have enough slack to cut off from the top and bottom, and you have full coverage, especially since this was a 35 ounce. If you're dealing with a 20 ounce or a 30 ounce, I don't think it would be that big of a deal. But since this was so long, that I had to make sure that I was getting a full wrap. And here's where it got a little bit tedious, I guess, if you will. So I was like, I know I can do this. I know I can, you know, like make this kind of I know I can cut this in order to make it look like it is kind of all one piece and it's been, you know, wrapped in that way. But it just took me a little while, I'll be honest, to kind of figure out, okay, I need to cut, you know, during, you know, on these certain areas where the flowers are, you know, kind of formed. And see, I zoom in here a little bit more, and I end up just kind of cutting all the way across the, the backside, because I didn't want to just keep cutting all of the vinyl, just kind of, I didn't want to keep cutting it in all these different ways, and cutting the bottom underneath and cutting the top and all of that. So I ended up just cutting all the way across, right? So I just took the piece and just kind of cut it. Now, then I could kind of see where I needed to cut and piece and really make it look kind of fluid going all the way around. So I'm just going to kind of leave y'all to see what I do, because it's kind of a long process, and I did cut this down a lot, but I wanted to kind of show y'all how I kind of went about putting all of this together, so that you can kind of really get a good idea that this can be done, that you can, make this work as far as making it look like a seamless transition between the back.
Like this. Like this. Like this. Like this.
And then obviously I took my Cami Page Boutique vinyl cutter, and I cut off the bottom there. I ended up cutting the top off. I wasn't sure I was going to do that at first, but I went around and really pushed down a lot of those edges, because I did so much cutting and slicing and, pulling and piecing together and that kind of thing. So I just made sure that I really pushed all those down. I pushed that top part down. I ended up, like I said, cutting the top, but I did go back here a couple times and just kind of thought, I'm just going to cut some of this and just make it look, I just felt like that one line right there down the middle was really standing out. And so I had to go back in and kind of slice that through, and I went around and poked any bubbles, because you're obviously going to have bubbles. This stuff is so thick that when you when it goes around, it's really hard to get it, completely straight. So, and then because that backside was so kind of piecemeal together, that I decided that I was going to put the decal on back there. But even through the decal, there was some clear spots that you could kind of see that line down the middle. And so I did a good job of cutting the one side. So I went back and kind of sliced and pieced together the other side of the connection of the back there. But like I said, this really took a lot of time for me to do, but I wanted to show y'all the process, because I wanted you to kind of know that this was not easy, and that it took me a lot to kind of get this, because those flower clusters were really intricate and they were very large, and so it just took a lot more than I had intended in the beginning. But I think all in all, it looks fine. But I did put the decal on that backside, because there was just a few pieces that I figured could be kind of covered up or disguised by that decal. So that's why I ended up putting this decal on the backside of this, whole look. And like I said, I ended up cutting the top part as well. I felt like it needed a clean edge, and if I put it under epoxy, it was just going to be a wrinkled mess up at the top, and I was going to have to do a lot of sanding. So I just left it on that very bottom ring, that bottom rung of that cutter, and just cut that top part. And just adding a few more little touches there, just kind of a couple of leaves and little buds that kind of gave us the look that it was all one piece. After that, I finally put the decal on. I felt like I had enough of a space and enough place where it looked seamless, and so that was what I was going for. And I loved this decal with the roses and the flowers. I thought that it was really cool just to kind of add a little bit of something to this, since we weren't dealing with something too bright or, in your face, that this was just a pastel, not even pastel. I mean, it was just a very subtle pink on all fronts. And so I thought the decal would just shine just a little bit more. And, all in all, I thought it went really well. So this, we put a coat of epoxy on, and that was just to kind of seal everything in, get everything put in as far as the decal, the wrap, getting everything, done, so that we can move on to the next step, which is adding more glitter. So here I put another coat of epoxy on here, and this was just, I was going to mix a little bit of the glitter in with the epoxy and then just kind of place it on, but I ended up really needing to use kind of the excess glitter to make some earrings that somebody had ordered. And so I was like, you know what, I'll just put the coat on there, and then I will put the glitter on top of this coat. So I don't think it really mattered, but it did give me the look that I wanted, which was fine. So I went in with the very glitter that we used underneath, right? So I just went in and really tried to focus on those clusters of flowers. And I thought that this would be a good way of kind of bringing the background into the foreground. No. Anyways, you know what I mean, right? Bring the back of that glitter up to the front. And so I really thought that it just kind of gave it a little bit more of like a 3D look. So the flowers were kind of within the glitter, so I ended up putting a little bit more glitter than I had thought in the beginning, but I ended up really liking the way it looked, and I tried to focus it not to be on the decal, so I tried to stay away from that, but I did end up going back over it with my gloved hand and just kind of smearing it in and I didn't want it to kind of sit on top of the epoxy. I wanted it to feel like it was kind of embedded into that vinyl. And so that's why I kind of wanted it to kind of feel like it was coming through the glitter and that kind of thing. Anyways, that was my mindset, and I really think I pulled it off. So I just took that same exact glitter mix and just put that on top. I do need to end up putting a couple more final coats on here, but I wanted to get this out to you guys. I had a little bit of a trouble last week with being sick, so I was kind of behind. So this is right after I put the glitter on, which I would definitely put another couple of coats after some sanding and that kind of thing. But I wanted to get it out to you. I wanted to show it to you. I wanted to show you the sparkle, the beautiful colors, the beautiful combination. If this inspires you or you really love this and you recreate it, please let me know. Please tag me in all the social medias. I'm on all of it. And I would love to see it. So please like and subscribe and comment down below and let me know what you think. I would love to know what you think. And we have a lot of fun stuff coming up for the holidays, and so I'm so excited for that. You are my sunshine. I am so happy to almost be at 6,000 subscribers. I can't believe that 6,000 of you enjoy coming on here and listening to me babble about making cups. So anyways, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next time.